So what's up, Spurs fans? This is a brand new video we're going to be bringing you on the weekly, talking tactics with Tottenham and Thomas Frank. Of course, me being a coach myself, it's a real privilege to come on here and maybe give an insight on the fans who are wondering, questioning, what is the new Tottenham? What is Thomas Frank's tactics? Well, let's start by looking at those first two competitive games against PSG and Burnley. Of course, two very different opponents, PSG being the champions of Europe and Burnley just being a newly promoted team from the Championship. We've seen two different formations in both games. We've seen a back five against PSG where Spurs were going to be very resilient, very direct, make themselves very difficult to beat, and that was something that we didn't really achieve under the last manager despite having success in the Europa League final. Thomas Frank adapted that back five approach, made it very difficult for PSG to play through the channels, and any time Spurs' defenders in that back three stepped in the midfield, I did notice that Polina or Bentancur dropped in to fill in to make sure there wasn't really an opportunity to play a ball in behind because there was cover there. That was something that we didn't really see under the previous regime, where if a defender stepped in, he was stepping on himself, and if we lost it, there was no real cover at the back. So Thomas Frank is a very pragmatic but also opportunistic coach. I wouldn't put him in the bracket of being a very, very defensive manager, just a manager of being very, very pragmatic and very, very opportunistic, where we've seen against Burnley, a back four he went with. He felt that he analysed that Spurs have a lot more talent than Burnley, so he goes with a back four. But the major differences we've seen from maybe last season was when we played out of the back, there was a real focus on getting the ball forward very quickly. The percentage of long balls in that game is up from last season's average quite significantly. So we see that with the third Tottenham goal. Romero plays a ball, bypassing midfield, Andy Richarlison. Sarr takes the layoff, plays in Brennan Johnson, who's on the move, and we score a goal. So 4 players involved in that goal. And whilst there was a very, very well documented team goal for the second goal, it all really came about when Kudos beats his man and whoops the ball first time under the box, and Richarlison scores that great goal. And we also seen a very similar passage of play for the first Spurs goal against Burnley. So we aren't going to be maybe the most easy on the A team, but Thomas Frank wants to make Spurs a very effective team in both boxes. So you'll see a lot of long throws, a real emphasis on set pieces, and getting the ball forward as quickly as possible and getting runners in around the midfield to play into the wide men. So I've been very impressed with Thomas Frank's start. A massive game against Man City on Saturday. What formation will he play? We'll talk all about it here next Saturday when hopefully Spurs have 3 more points.